How old are you, 15? That was what Harker said. He said it loud enough for the whole bar to hear, and the whole bar laughed, and I stood 6 feet away with a clipboard under my arm and did not say a word. That part stays with me. The laugh I can explain. The silence I still owe her. She had come in through the side door of the rec building at Fub Arlen on a Tuesday night. 110 degrees, still bleeding out of the hardpan outside. Her kit bag over one shoulder and her orders in her hand. Pre-mission coordination brief was in the back room. My range, my qual standards, my brief to run, and she had every right to walk through that door. Master Sergeant Dale Harker was standing in front of it with 2 of his men, a beer in his fist, and the particular kind of ease that comes from never having been wrong in a room before. She handed him the orders sheet. He looked at it the way men look at paperwork they have already decided not to read. Then he looked at her face, her build, the soft edge of her jaw, and he said it. How old are you, 15? One of his men laughed first. Then the rest of the bar followed because that is what rooms do when a master sergeant gives them permission. She did not say anything. She did not shift her weight, or look at the floor, or pull the orders back. She just stood there with her hand out, waiting for him to return the sheet, and the expression on her face was the same one I would come to know on the firing line. Level, dry, already somewhere ahead of the moment. Harker handed the sheet back and stepped aside just enough to make her squeeze past him. She went in. The brief ran 40 minutes. When it was done, she walked back through the bar without looking at the table where Harker was sitting, went out the side door, and was gone. I stayed for another hour and told myself the paperwork had been in order and that was enough. It was not enough. I have known that since the next morning. She was on my range at ZO 630. Qual standard for her attachment was a modified precision FFRL course. 5 strings, 7 targets each, distances running from 300 to 900 meters, par time of 42 seconds per string. She had been assigned the slot by battalion, and Harker had found out. And Harker had come to me the night before with a proposal he dressed up as procedure. Run her through the qual live in front of the company, he said. Full gallery. She posts a clean run, she's in. She doesn't. She goes back to wherever they pulled her from. He said it like he was doing her a favor. He said it like he expected me to understand that a girl who looked 15 had no business on a precision rifle attachment in his theater, and that a public qual failure was a gentler outcome than whatever else he had in mind. I said yes, that part is on me. By Euro 700 the gallery rail had 40, maybe 50 soldiers on it. Word had moved the way word moves on a small phobe. A story with a foregone conclusion. Crowd. Harker was at the rail with his arms folded. A few of the men had coffee. There was some noise at the start, the low-register entertainment noise of people who expect to watch something go wrong. She came to the line in full kit, plate carrier, multicam blouse, sleeves down in the heat, and she went through her pre-shoot with no wasted motion. She checked her rifle, bolt action she had brought in its case from her kit bag, ran a bore check, set her bag, and went prone. She did not look at the gallery. She did not look at Harker. She pressed a single round through the chamber, cleared it, and was still. I called the line. Shooter ready. String 1. On your mark. She fired. The first string went clean at 31 seconds. I read it off the shot clock and wrote it down and did not say anything, because 31 seconds on string 1 means nothing until you see what string 2 looks like. The gallery was quieter. Harker still had his arms folded. String 2, 29 seconds, 7 for 7. Confirmed by the target spotters. At 900 meters, the last 2 rounds had gone through a group you could cover with your palm. Heard someone at the rail say something I did not catch. The tone of it had changed. String 3, 28 seconds. Clean. The gallery was quiet enough now that I could hear the brass hitting the mat. I want to be precise about what I was feeling at that moment, because I have thought about it a great many times since. It was not surprise, exactly. Tss. It was the specific sensation of watching a calculation you have been running in your head come apart, because you had the wrong inputs from the start, and you are only now seeing what the correct inputs produce. Every round she fired was placed. There was no searching, no adjustment after a miss, no visible compensation for the heat shimmer rising off the hardpan. She had come to the line knowing what distance is due to a bullet in this air. and she had already done the math before she pressed the first trigger. String 4, 27 seconds. She reloaded between strings with the same economy she used for everything else. No urgency, no performance. Bolt cycled, and the fresh magazine seated. And she was back in position before the spotters had finished calling the previous string. The standing range record for the course was 26 seconds on a single string, set 3 years prior by a warrant officer who had gone on to an instructor slot at Bragg. The overall par was 42 seconds. Nobody had ever run the full 5-string course under a 31-second average. String 5. I looked at the clock when the last shot broke, and I looked at it again because I thought I had misread it. 24 seconds. 7 for 7. The final round at 900 meters. A rear oblique target, partially masked by the berm edge, had gone through the upper chest exposure with a half-inch margin on the steel. I did the average in my head. I did it twice. 27.8 seconds per string. Course average. The standing record for a single string, broken twice. The course average as a category had never been formally recorded because no one had thought to track it. I was going to have to create the line in the logbook. The gallery was silent. Not the silence of disappointment. The other kind. The kind that has weight to it. The kind that falls on a room when something has happened that cannot be walked back. I read the times aloud. All 5 strings, the average, comparison to the standing single-string record. I read them in the same flat range officer voice I use for every course because the numbers do not need my help. Behind me, I heard someone say her call sign. I found out later it was the battalion XO, come down to the gallery in the last 10 minutes. He had recognized the call sign from a classified distribution list. 3 consecutive years, the Military Long Range Open Championship, the Sniper School Record Board, classified annex with numbers I was not cleared to read until 2 days later, when the battalion commander sent it down and told me to update my range logbook accordingly. The annex had her full record. It had the call sign in the header, Crestfall. I was still holding the clipboard when I heard the boots on the gravel. Harker had come down from the gallery rail. He walked the length of the range, 60-70 feet of packed hardpan, and he stopped at the firing line. She was still prone, unloading the rifle, her cheek off the stock. She looked up once he came to attention. He rendered a formal salute, held it, and waited until she gave him a small nod. Not a salute back, just the nod. And then he dropped it and walked away without a word. Nobody said anything after that. The gallery cleared in 2 minutes. The range was empty, except for her and me in the heat. She broke down the rifle, packed it, shouldered the bag, and left. I stayed and updated the logbook. I wrote the new course average line. I wrote her call sign in the record column. Then I went back to the pre-mission brief packet she had handed in the night before, and I read the whole thing, all 12 pages, including the 2-page classified annex I had skipped, because I had already made up my mind that the paperwork was sufficient and I did not need to know more. The annex had been there the whole time. I read every packet in full now, every page, every annex, before I say a single word to anyone who walks through my door. It is not a large habit. It takes 5 minutes. But I started it that morning on a hardpan range at Phobe Arlen because of what it cost not to.